Obsession, that word gets thrown around like it's either a badge of honor or a warning sign. People say, you've got to be obsessed if you want to win. And others whisper, careful, obsession will destroy you. For years, I believed obsession was about intensity, about how hard you push, how long you grind, how much sleep you're willing to sacrifice. I thought obsession meant clenching your teeth and forcing yourself forward, no matter the cost. And then one single line stopped me cold. One sentence didn't motivate me. It challenged me. It didn't hype me up. It shook me awake. That line was this: if your goal doesn't give you energy, it's not obsession, it's obligation. That sentence messed with me because I realized something uncomfortable. I wasn't obsessed with some of my biggest goals. I was chained to them. I was dragging them behind me like heavy luggage I'd been carrying for years, telling myself this is what success looks like. This is what winners do. This is what I committed to. But every morning, instead of feeling alive, I felt drained. Instead of feeling pulled forward, I felt pushed from behind by fear of quitting, fear of judgment, fear of wasted time. And here's the truth most people never say out loud. You can work incredibly hard toward a goal that isn't aligned with who you are, and the world will still call you disciplined, successful, and driven. But inside, you'll feel empty. You'll feel like you're living someone else's definition of achievement. Real obsession doesn't feel heavy, it feels magnetic. It pulls you. It wakes you up before the alarm. It doesn't require constant willpower because it feeds you as much as you feed it. Obligation, on the other hand, drains you. It's powered by should. I should want this. I should finish this. I should keep going because I've already invested so much. And that's a dangerous place to live because should is the language of survival, not fulfillment. I started asking myself a brutal question. If no one could see my progress, would I still want this goal? If there were no applause, no validation, no social media posts, no trophies, would I still chase it? And the answer shocked me. For some goals, the answer was no. I wasn't obsessed with the outcome. I was obsessed with the image of being the kind of person who achieves it. That's when I realized obsession isn't about what you're willing to suffer for. It's about what you're willing to lose track of time doing. Think about the moments in your life when hours disappeared. You didn't need motivation. You didn't need discipline hacks. You were in it, fully alive, fully engaged. That's obsession in its purest form. And it's not forced, it's natural. Most people never experience that with their goals because they choose goals intellectually, not emotionally. They sit down and ask, what makes sense? Instead of asking, what makes me feel unstoppable? They ask, what's realistic? Instead of what would make me come alive? And then they wonder why they burn out. Here's something that might challenge you. Obsession isn't created by pressure. It's created by meaning. When a goal is connected to who you want to become, not just what you want to have, it fuels you. When it's tied to a deep value, growth, freedom, contribution, mastery, it becomes self-sustaining. You don't have to force yourself to care. You care because it matters. I had to confront the possibility that some of my goals were outdated. They were dreams I set years ago when I was a different person with different values, different pain, different priorities. But instead of updating them, I was honoring them like contracts written in stone. And that's insanity. Growth means permission to evolve. Growth means you get to change your mind. Obsession that's healthy evolves with you. Obsession that's unhealthy traps you in a past identity. And here's the trap most people fall into. They confuse consistency with loyalty. They think quitting a goal means quitting on themselves. But sometimes quitting a goal is the most honest act of self-respect you can make. Let me be clear, this isn't about lowering standards. This is about raising alignment. This is about choosing goals that don't just demand your energy, but multiply it. Because when you're truly obsessed in the right way, discipline becomes secondary. You don't rely on motivation because motivation is emotional and emotions fluctuate. You rely on identity. You become the kind of person who does this because it's who you are. Ask yourself this: does this goal require me to constantly remind myself why I should care? Or does it remind me every day why I do? One is forced. The other is obsession. The most dangerous goals aren't the ones that scare you. They're the ones that numb you. The ones you're good at but not passionate about. The ones that look impressive but don't excite you. Because those goals will give you success without fulfillment. And that's a trade most people regret too late. Real obsession sharpens you. It doesn't scatter your focus, it clarifies it. It makes decisions easier because everything either supports the obsession or it doesn't. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop procrastinating, because procrastination is a signal that something isn't emotionally compelling enough. And here's the part no one warns you about: when you find the right obsession, people will misunderstand you. They'll say you're too intense, too focused, too extreme. But what they're really reacting to is clarity. Most people are conflicted. When they see someone who isn't, it challenges their comfort zone. Obsession isn't about doing more. It's about caring deeper. It's about committing to fewer things with more heart. It's about saying no to good goals so you can say yes to the right one. That one line: if your goal doesn't give you energy, it's not obsession, it's obligation. Forced me to audit my life. Where was I running on fear instead of fire? Where was I chasing approval instead of purpose? Where was I confusing endurance with passion? And the moment I started letting go of goals that drained me, something incredible happened. My energy returned. My focus sharpened. My confidence grew, not because I was doing more, but because I was doing what mattered. The right obsession doesn't just change your results. It changes how you feel in your own skin. You don't need more goals. You need one that demands the best of you and gives you more than it takes. You don't need to be obsessed with everything. You need to be obsessed with something that aligns with your values, your strengths, and your vision of who you're becoming. So if you're tired all the time, if you're procrastinating on things you want, if you're successful but unfulfilled, don't ask what's wrong with you. Ask whether the goal in front of you is fueled by obsession or obligation. Because when you choose the right obsession, effort feels different. Sacrifice feels purposeful. And progress stops being a grind and starts becoming inevitable. That's when goals stop being something you chase and start becoming something you live. Obsession doesn't start when people are watching. That's the lie most of us are sold. We're taught that obsession is about recognition, about proving something, about being seen grinding while others sleep. But real obsession begins in silence, when the applause disappears and the metrics don't matter. When there's no audience to impress and no reward guaranteed. External validation is loud, addictive, and temporary. Obsession is quiet, internal, and relentless. The moment you stop needing permission, praise, or proof from the outside world is the moment obsession actually takes root. Most people confuse motivation with obsession because both can create movement. But motivation is borrowed energy. It comes from compliments, likes, bonuses, comparisons, fear of judgment. It fades quickly because it was never yours to begin with. Obsession is owned energy. It comes from within, and that's why it survives when everything external is stripped away. When nobody claps, nobody notices, nobody understands, obsession still shows up. It doesn't ask, will this be appreciated? It asks, will this move me closer to who I want to become? External validation creates dependency. You start measuring your worth through reactions instead of results. You begin adjusting your behavior to maintain approval rather than pursuing truth. Over time, your goals become performative. You don't chase them because they matter. You chase them because they look good. And the scary part is society rewards that. You can build an entire life that looks impressive and still feel hollow because it's fueled by validation instead of conviction. Obsession flips that dynamic. When you're truly obsessed, feedback becomes information, not fuel. Praise doesn't inflate you and criticism doesn't break you. You're not driven by how it looks, but by how it feels internally when you're aligned. You do the work even if no one ever found out. You'd keep going even if it took longer than expected. You'd stay committed even if the outcome wasn't guaranteed, because the process itself has meaning. Think about how fragile goals become when validation is removed. Take away the audience, the rewards, the recognition, and suddenly the fire dies. That's not obsession. That's dependence. Real obsession survives isolation. It thrives in repetition. It deepens when things get boring because it's not chasing novelty, it's chasing mastery. External validation loves highlights. Obsession lives in the unseen hours. This is why so many people quit when progress slows. As soon as the feedback loop breaks, motivation collapses. They weren't obsessed with the mission, they were obsessed with the reaction. And when the reaction disappears, so does the effort. Obsession doesn't negotiate with comfort. It doesn't need constant reassurance. It doesn't ask, am I doing enough compared to others? It asks, am I honoring my standard today? When validation is your driver, you're constantly adjusting your path based on outside signals. You zigzag emotionally. One good response makes you euphoric. One bad response makes you doubt everything. Obsession stabilizes you. It creates emotional consistency because your reference point is internal. You know why you're doing this. You know what it costs not to. That clarity becomes grounding. There's a powerful shift that happens when you stop asking for permission to care deeply. Most people unconsciously tone down their obsession because they're afraid of judgment. They don't want to look too intense, too focused, too different. Validation trains you to dilute yourself. Obsession demands that you commit fully, even if it makes others uncomfortable. And that discomfort is often the signal that you're finally acting from truth instead of approval. External validation also creates comparison, and comparison is obsession's enemy. The moment you start measuring your journey against someone else's timeline, you lose connection with your own rhythm. Obsession doesn't race. It doesn't rush. It respects process. It understands that depth beats speed and consistency beats intensity. Validation pressures you to perform now. Obsession allows you to build forever. When you no longer need to be seen, you start seeing clearly. You stop chasing 10 goals and commit to one. You stop talking about what you're going to do and start doing it. You stop explaining yourself. That's when obsession sharpens. Silence becomes productive. Focus becomes addictive. Progress compounds quietly. There's also freedom in releasing validation. You stop outsourcing confidence. You stop waiting for signals that it's okay to continue. You decide once internally, and then you move. That decision removes friction. It removes hesitation. It removes the emotional tax of constantly checking whether you're on the right path according to someone else's opinion. Obsession doesn't mean ignoring feedback or living in delusion. It means filtering feedback through your values instead of your ego. You listen, you adjust, but you don't abandon your core direction because someone doesn't clap. Validation-focused goals collapse under resistance. Obsession-powered goals adapt under pressure. When external validation ends, many people feel lost because they never built an internal compass. Obsession is that compass. It points you forward when the map is unclear. It keeps you moving when progress is invisible. It allows you to trust yourself in uncertainty. The most meaningful work you'll ever do will likely happen without witnesses. The skills that separate you will be built when no one is watching. The confidence you carry will come from promises you kept to yourself, not praise you received from others. Obsession grows strongest in those moments. If you strip away applause and still feel pulled to continue, you found something real. If you remove recognition and still feel compelled to improve, you're aligned. That's where obsession begins. Not when the world validates you, but when you validate your own commitment, when the need to be seen dissolves and the need to become takes over,